the losers bracket, and Harstem being the favorite. Actually, if you check the Aligulak stats, if you go to aligulak.com, you can see that Harstem has over 65% or maybe even 80% chance of winning this, since he is leading 1-0. And here we have him in the game. It is from Alternate Attacks, the yellow Zerg player, Lambo. Give it up for him. He needs your support to bring it back.
Yep, and if we go to the other corner on the top right-hand side of Overgrowth, our Dutchman and the king of DSCL, give it up for Fanatics, Harstem.
Yeah, we can hear that Harstem has a lot of fans in here in the hall. And now this map is might be a little bit easier for Lambo to play on, because A, it's a two-player map, so you know exactly where your opponent is straight from the get-go. And second, well, it's going to be a little bit easier to scout. Third, you have the gold base to fall back on. We mentioned this before. A lot of the times ZVP is being decided whether the Zerg player can A, defend a Protoss 2 base all-in, and B, if he can take the fourth base, the gold base, and hold on to it. If he can, then he's got a really good chance of taking the match.
Yeah, and I mean, while we were walking through the stages, while there was some offline in the DSCL, we did meet Lambo, and he's very confident he can still pull the series back. He said, yep, I'm still going to win. It does look like Harstem is going once again for a Nexus first, because he did queue a lot of the probes on his Nexus already, so that's going to be a very economic opener once again. But Lambo not making the pull this time around, Bell.
Yeah, and he is changing up his build. He usually opens with a pool first, but right now, instead of opening with a pool, he goes with a hatchery. So economically wise, this is going to be an even game between these two guys, and Lambo is going to also have a little bit of an easier time in the early game. Because of the Nexus first opening from Harstem. We can see Lambo not leaving anything to chance, scouting for proxies, cannon rushes. It is pretty common on this map sometimes. Some players do this. Is he going to go for the third hatch? Whoa!
Yeah,
3 hatch before pool. Now that's what I call balls deep play.
Yep, and he can't say he didn't have a lot of time to think about his strategy, so he did think this was the good build to go against Harstem, and so far I think it could work. There is a gateway coming up, of course, from Harstem, but if he gets his pool now, I think he should be alright to defend any kind of aggression. But Harstem is known to put on some aggression early game every now and then.
Yeah, and you know what? A 4-gate or a 6-gate follow-up of this could be very good, and Harstem has to know this is 2 hatcheries before pool, just going off of the timing of the pool, which went down after 3-minute mark. So he has to know there's a hatchery somewhere out on the map, and should react accordingly to this. Now the question is, will he try to play the catch-up game and take a very quick third only off of 1 gateway himself, or is he just going to save a little bit of chrono boost, get that mothership core, put on slight pressure on his opponent, then follow up with a gateway explosion of his own and completely kill the third?
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind is that Lambo is adding gas this time around. Last time he was very unprepared for the aggression that Harstem pulled out, but he does know what's going on so far, and Overlord scout most of what's going on. Well, actually everything that's going on, but Harstem should be able to hide his tech. Could also be something like a Stargate, but a sentry is coming up that could lead to many things.
Yeah, it could. It could lead to that gateway explosion as well, because when you're building sentries, you're investing a decent amount of gas, but not enough minerals. You're saving a lot of minerals, actually. But so far, Harstem's been chrono boosting almost exclusively into his Nexuses, so it kind of... he still has a little bit of chrono boost saved up on his second Nexus, yeah, but he chrono boosts on Nexus anyways, so he's trying to get his economy up and running as fast as he can. Still no tech being placed down by Harstem, but that should change relatively quickly. Yeah, and there we have it, the robotic facility going up.
Yeah, robotic facility with these sentries early on. He could go for some sort of an immortal push. It's not uncommon. I think Harstem still does that on occasion. He did put a lot in economy early on, so he will have the economy to back that up. But we're going to have to wait for that just a little bit. The Overlord's trying to see what's going on, but he won't really know, except that the sentry might start poking him.
I really like the fact that Lambo is not being too greedy here and not going for the lair with his first 100 gas, because this is what he does a lot of in a lot of his ZVPs. He gets the lair before he gets the link speed and rushes for Hydralisks off of 3 bases. That's his way of saying, you know what, I don't need links. If you're not attacking early, I'll just go and get a bunch of Hydralisks, and I'll be able to defend any kind of Immortal Sentry pushes that you're going to be throwing my way, which, by the way, might be something that Harstem is going for right now, as we see the Immortal being chrono boosted out, additional gateways being added on, no gases yet, so it could be that Harstem is going for a 2-gas gateway, heavy gateway push.
But Lambo, as we just confirmed, did see the fact that there's a robotics bay, robotics facility on the field right now with the Overlord in the main base, so he knows, well, mostly what's going on. He is still making drones. He's feeling comfortable to do that. The first Immortals on the way and 5 gateways. Bell.
7. 7, mate. This is going to be 8 gateways with 2, maybe 3 Immortals, a couple of sentries which he made early on in the game. He's not going to be taking gases at his natural expansion. In fact, he's cutting all the probes, so he's definitely going for the 2-base push now. Lambo, he did delay the lair a little bit, and I think Harstem has to hit his timing right now. If he allows Lambo to sit there for, I don't know, 3 more minutes, he should have enough Hydralisks to defend the 3rd base and stay alive.
Yep, it looks like Harstem is getting ready to move out a little bit. Probe joins the attacking party. Zergling does scout that the move out is going on, so that could indicate him a little bit there. And this is going to be very Zealot heavy, right, Bell?
Yeah, this should be very Zealot heavy. I mean, you have to keep in mind that Harstem, he is doing the variation of a build where you don't take additional gases at your natural expansion, so when he loses those sentries, he does not have a lot of them, he has 4. So the sentry usage will have to be on point, and he cannot fail with this push. If he fails, without killing the 3rd base or enough drones or doing significant amounts of damage, pretty much that will allow Lambo to counterattack and win this map, I think.
Alright, Roach speed is just gonna finish a little bit too late, but there are a lot of Roaches on the way. There's also Spine Crawlers on the way. One thing to note, there's also a War Prison with his army. He might split that off, try to do some shenanigans to the main base, but so far sticking with the army. Some good initial force fields cut out all of the army, and these Immortals could start shooting that hatchery, Bell.
Yes, they are. He needs more force fields, however, he cannot allow that army to come forward. And this is the perfect position here for Harstem with his force field usage. You look at the whole position micro on the Zealot, saving every little unit that he can, and now he sends them forward after the Roaches have been sectioned off. Huge fights going on here, but does Harstem have enough resources to keep this going? Time War going down to slow down the drones that have been pulled off the line by Lambo to try and defend this. Immortal micro going on the sentry as well. More force fields going down. So far, so good for Harstem. Lambo, however, still has enough units in the front of the force fields to kind of defend this.
Harstem has to be a little bit careful here, though, because a lot of Zerglings are on the way, and most of the Zealots are fighting the Queens on the bottom side, and the sentries are actually under fire by the Zerglings. Some good force fields on the top side there are holding most of the army still up, but there's a lot of reinforcements coming. If you check the supply right now, Lambo's still ahead here.
Yeah, he is, but those 2 Immortals are still alive. The Zealots, luckily for Lambo, do not have +1 attack. This was a very quick, very greedy push by Harstem in terms of not getting the upgrades. Those Immortals still staying alive. The War Prism is still alive. The Queen's not able to target that down. And look at Lambo's army. Does he have any units remaining out on the field? No, 6 Hydralisks in production, but nothing on the ground.
Oh, those Immortals really living up to their name when controlled by Harstem right now. And Lambo did a pretty good job, but like you said, they're still alive, they're still doing a lot of damage, and all of the Roaches got taken out, but some Hydras are joining the fray and are doing a pretty good job killing these sentries, killing these Zealots, and some good control by our German player as well.
Really good control indeed, but in terms of economy, the game is still even. Lambo is very nearly holding on to his dear life, and I mean, Harstem, he's kind of pulling back, he's taking the gases at the natural expansion. I think he wants to prolong the fight for a little bit until the Mothership Core has 100 energy. And then he will just recall back. The question is, will Lambo give him that time? If he gives it that time, then Harstem can do a follow-up push once he regroups and makes more sentries, basically.
Yep, I mean, Harstem is still on 2 bases, so Lambo does have a slight edge on that position. And I do think that the Hydras are going to be very useful. There is a tech switch to Colossus coming up, but look at these Zealots, they're just melting, and the Hydras are stepping back just like they were Marines, and they're doing a good job at it, Bell.
Very nice job, but at the same time, you know, Lambo, he's been using the Queens in the fight. Luckily, not all of them. He still has Queens to inject, except for the 3rd base. And Harstem, you know, the longer this goes on, the longer he can keep on Lambo to make units instead of drones, the better the position he will be in. Basically, he's buying time with this. The Colossus then is almost finished. Colossus production will begin shortly. And Harstem, he is still on 7 gates, so he still has a pretty potent reinforcement capability.
But here we go, the first few drones are being queued up as well by Lambo right now. He feels confident that he can squeeze a few out, and I think he's right about that. He's also getting the upgrades for the range of the Hydralisks. There are Colossus on the way, however, and Colossus could definitely swing this in favor of Harstem.
Yeah, no, The thing is, Harstem has not made any probes for the past, like, oh, I don't know, 5 minutes, ever since his infrastructure completed. So he's definitely not looking for a third base, at least not at this time. Now, Lambo, he has to find out if Harstem is about to take a third base or not, because if he's not taking a third base, then Lambo has to prepare defenses and not fall into the trap of thinking, whoa, I defended the push, let me take a fourth base and just play a normal game. Here comes the drop with the Warp Prism, a little bit of a harassment. Army for Lambo is out of position, he pulls that back, while Harstem regroups at his natural base.
Yeah, but those Hydras just spawned and they're like, oh, there's Zealots in the base, let's start shooting. That's really good because he didn't lose a lot of drones there. He did need to build off of mining. So a minor victory for Harstem there, but
actually he lost exactly 0 drones.
Zero drones. Yep, that's
all the drones that he's lost were the 15 drones at the third base when Harstem commenced his attack. But nice drop defense, diversionary tactics coming out of Harstem here, and he's going for round number 2 with how many Colossus? Well, he's got 1, and the second one in production. Very good move by Lambo to break down these rocks that will make the defense of the third base even easier.
Well, there is a Spire on the way, so Lambo's definitely thinking about some options that he could use to take down the Colossus. But the next attack, there should be no real answer to the Colossus from Harstem. So it's gonna be the MVP, but there's no range yet, Bell.
Yeah, there's no range, just now being queued up. The Spire still has about 20-30 seconds to go, so we have about a minute and something until Corruptors are out.
Oh, look at that surround by Lambo, and he's making something work. Some really good force fields by Harstem, but just not enough right now, and he is losing some units in the front once again. Some Zealots get weakened a little bit, and this is not a bad trade for Lambo by any stretch of the imagination.
He should be pulling back right now. He cannot allow that army to be trapped by those force fields.
When the force fields break, the army is going to surround, and this is looking so good for the German player right now.
Very nice army positioning for Lambo, but I feel he's pushing it a little bit too hard here. Fighting off creep is not a good idea versus this kind of army. There are pylons for reinforcements. Another time warp going down. Harstem, however, is starting to run out of force fields here.
He's starting to run out of force fields, and he's starting to run out of Zealots, so the Colossus gets taken down there. And the important units are now under fire. The Immortals that have done so well this game, they don't have a lot of health left. They are going to fall, and this could be the end for our Dutch Protoss in game number 2.
Immortal goes down, no force fields to save this army, baby. Colossus falls, GG, well played, 1-1.
Great game.